All right. GMMFers, this is Harsha.eth. And yes, we have Shatt with us. So I connected with Shatt on a launch in Discord. So we were just DJing and then we found Shatt and he was talking about some cool stuff. So I thought, hey Shatt, why do you come on a podcast and we do the exact same thing and then we just show all the other DJs what we were talking about. So yes, sir. We can just get started with a small introduction, maybe, and then we dive into the topic.
Well, GM, thank you for having me. Quick intro. Um, let's see. Where do I start? Right now, I'm currently retired, full-time DGen. I just play video games, buy art, and lurk on the internet. Is kind of what I do right now. Luckily, I'd landed in a very privileged position. My family started a business early in the 2000s. We did quite well. We hit a good niche. It was very successful, and I stepped away from it a few years back,
Mhm.
and that really kind of put me in my path of just being able to live off the distribution from that business and do what I want. I've been a gamer my entire life, and money was never something that was the front of my attention. I kind of ignored it for most of my life, and it wasn't
Okay.
until in my quote unquote retirement that I started messing around with TradFi during COVID, and that led me into buying into GME like a true degen,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
into GameStop. And when that went south,
Yes.
it kind
Yes.
of opened my eyes to an ecosystem that was corrupt, manipulated, but opaque. And
Okay.
I had heard about crypto a long time ago from my brother, but never looked into it because it was money related.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Of
thought
course.
that, well, if there's a public blockchain, a public ledger somewhere where I can see what's going on, what's transparent, even though it's still
Mm-hmm.
manipulated, at least I have, a proper, the proper advantage, the same playing field, I guess. And so it
Okay.
wasn't until um, March, February or March of 2021 where I bought my first Bitcoin and ETH. So I'm not an OG in the space by any means, but it took me about a week or two of research to realize that NFTs were going to be huge.
Okay.
Coming from the gaming background, it just felt like a no-brainer to me.
Okay.
As an example, I have spent uh, probably 15 years of my life now playing World of Warcraft, and
Okay.
probably 10 of those years I spent flipping items on the auction house to see how much gold I could make. Not for any reason in particular, not trying to get to any specific number or to buy any items. I just wanted to do it just to see the number go up. And it
Okay.
kind of like opened my eyes in NFTs that this was the same thing, but with something that could be turned into real money. And so I just kind of jumped on board.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Got it. Wow. I think that's definitely a hell of a story. It's basically you've been a gamer more than I've been on this planet. So that makes sense. That makes sense. And really want to understand that because there's a different way gamers think, right? Because you can see I have a PS4 as well, but I just play it when I'm free or something, um just to have some fun. But
Mhm.
also, can I ask you, are you gonna show your face? If not, why is it, and why do you think? Um, is it anonymity what we're doing? If that's something that you can highlight on as well, that'd be great.
Yeah, so s- to go back, I guess, to where the idea of like being pseudonymous came from
Mm-hmm.
was
Mm-hmm.
just kind of the original thing of I had my own personal computer by the time I was like 8 or 10. Um,
Okay.
and I was taught very, very early on, don't
Mm-hmm.
give your personal information out. I mean, it's
Okay.
different when you're an actual child than when you're an adult. But I just kind of grew with that. And one thing being gamer my whole life was I got to be who I wanted to be, who my brain was, as opposed to who I
Okay.
was physically, genetically, whatever. Um,
Okay.
not to say that I'm unique in that manner, but it was kind of like a way of I get to be like the internet version of me. uh,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
my name as Shat is more important than my meat suit to me. The reputation there
Okay.
is, which a lot of people don't see it that way. They think anonymity or pseudonymity is a way to be able to prey on new people,
Mm-hmm.
to be able
Mm-hmm.
to walk away and
Mm-hmm.
not have any repercussions. Um,
Okay.
on top of that, uh, I have the belief that this ecosystem, blockchain as a whole, whether it's the crypto coins, tokens, or NFTs, are the future. Um, and I think I'm positioning myself to end up being very wealthy in the future. And that is not something that I want attached to my personal name.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
the there's the two big security parts
Yes.
when it comes to crypto is taking care of your seed phrase, not getting hacked,
Yes. Yes.
and protecting from a wrench attack. And
Okay.
it's a lot easier to protect from a wrench attack. And by that, I mean a physical attack, somebody coming up to me,
Oh,
putting a
okay.
gun to my head and saying, "Give me your
Oh,
seed phrase or I'm going to shoot you."
okay.
That might be a little extreme there, but it still
Correct.
actually happens. There's been plenty of stories of people who had thousands, if not tens of thousands of Bitcoin where they've had these kind of things happen. And I
Okay.
do like being a little bit on the paranoid side growing up on the internet. Um,
Got it.
I I don't try to call out hackers and be like, yeah, you can't touch me. I'm not gonna that's just asking for it. But the pseudonymity helps protect me IRL. So I
Okay.
won't show my face or give my name on the internet. When it comes to crypto events and NFT events, I do go to those and I will meet up with people. And if I recognize somebody, I will mention that I'm Shat. Otherwise, I kind of like just staying kind of behind the scenes and being somewhat unknown. But
Got it.
again, to reiterate, the the public view of me as Shat is more important to me than my meat suit.
Okay. Okay. So, do you think there's a certain amount of attention that you get? Let's say the more ETH you start accumulating, the more BTC you start accumulating, when it's completely on chain, people see these transactions, and like we also call it quote unquote OGs or whale wallets. So, I've seen a lot of people who just simply replicate whale wallets, and they're also whale trackers. What certain number of wallets are doing. We do track them, right? Where are these wallets going? Are they going into certain kind of projects? And then other people also FOMO into it. So, do you think that happens? And so, but there is attention involved, right? There's people are looking at a particular person's wallet if there's some good activity happening. So, what are your thoughts on that?
It absolutely does happen. I mean, there's enough whale trackers out there, and and the fact that they keep on being built should be an indicator that people are using them.
Yes, yes.
I do occasionally get DMs from rando people that I've never talked to before. I don't even have mutual Discord servers, which is a
Mm-hmm.
surprise when I'm in when I have to leave one to join a new one because I'm capped out at 200 right now.
Oh
Um,
wow.
but I'll get DMs being like, "Hey, why'd you buy this? Why are you bullish?" And I'm like, "I'm first off, I'm not just gonna give you as a rando that's just like a cold DM asking me for
Yes,
financial advice."
yes.
Um, but it definitely does happen, and I also have some friends that will ping me within 60 seconds of me buying something and being like, "Hey,
Okay,
what's the deal on this?" And it's
correct.
always it's kind of entertaining, and it's kind of like a point of feeling like you've made it, um, where people are starting to copy trade you. And I
Mm-hmm.
and look, just as a caveat here, I'm not a good trader. Let me make that clear.
Okay, okay, okay.
I I mess up my bags constantly. I buy a bunch of dumb shit. Whenever I try to buy something for an investment, it almost always goes south. Generally, my bags have done well when I just buy stuff for me, stuff that I find
Okay.
interesting or art that I like, and it just kind of it works out that way. Um, but yeah, please don't copy trade me. You'll probably get wrecked.
Okay.
But it is like I do find myself when I buy into collections,
Mm-hmm.
I do have the human bias of when I see other whale wallets that I recognize that are good collectors and traders,
Mm-hmm.
also loading up on a collection that I am, it gives me a little bit more confidence, which
Okay.
might not always be the best thing, but it's just a little confirmation bias.
Yeah, confirmation bias, exactly. There's confirmation bias involved, and also, you know, I don't know, maybe even halo effect, because you and also, like, as human beings, we are super good at pattern recognition, and the more patterns we see, the more we think, okay, and like the gambler's fallacy. I'm just throwing all these fallacies that are just coming into my head, but I think that's what happens, because if a particular wallet is performing well, and it did perform well in the past, you instantly think, okay, it's going to do again. It's going to do it again. So let me just copy trade it, and which could be a wrong thing. It also would be one of the best way to get wrecked. So do you think getting into projects should be more of, would I care about this project, or do you think there can be a flipper mindset involved as well?
Um, well, you can when it comes to community-based projects, if you buy into those looking for the flip,
Mm-hmm.
you can damn well be sure that other people are doing the same.
Correct.
And if that is what the entire community is about, you end up with a pump and dump community. And if you're seeing that you're surrounded by other people that show up in every other community that you've been in before, and now they're gone, it's that community is bound to fail.
Okay.
When it comes, like, if and none of this is financial advice, obviously,
Yes.
NFA.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
If you're looking to buy into a community that you want to be longstanding, something that you want to be a part of, that you want to be surrounded by like-minded people, you need to find a community that is built upon community first. If
Okay.
if a community project, if a founding team tries to drop an NFT to build
Mm-hmm.
the community, you
Okay.
will most likely fall apart initially. There has to be the curation without the incentive of return on investment prior to having something valuable in a community. And I will always always use this example. The proof community was something
Mm-hmm.
special to begin with because it was
Okay.
curated by people who followed Kevin Rose's podcast, Modern
Yes.
Finance, which turned
Yeah.
into the Proof podcast. And it was all about the art, the innovation, the tech. They made sure not to talk about what projects you should buy for returns on your investment, how to tweak your gas settings to win in a war to make sure that you could buy something that was popular at the time. It was all
Okay.
about just being excited and here for the tech. And it was very apparent on day zero in the Discord that that's what the community was. And it curated this incredible group of people that was so diverse but so like-minded. It was basically a group of FIRE individuals, partially, which FIRE standing for financial independence, retirement early. Um,
Okay.
so you would get a handful of those and a ton of entrepreneurs, a bunch of serial entrepreneurs, and a handful of artists and devs. And it was, you almost got not a single degen in there initially. And so from
Okay.
the outside, people kept on asking me, they're like, yo, is proof an alpha community? I see the price rising. Like, what's all the alpha you're getting? I'm like, it's not an alpha community. We just share cool shit. And that was it. And today's version of it, it's been a little bit different because
Mm-hmm.
there's speculation. So a bunch of the new members are, some of them fit the like early day criteria, but not quite. Um, but it's really what it comes down to. It's about the curation before the return on investment, and that's what I look for when it comes to the community curation in this space. Is if you drop an NFT first, focus on raising the floor price, and then say, come here for the community. You damn well know that nobody's there for the community. They're there to make a flip and
Yeah.
GTFO.
Yeah. 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 Got it. Got it. So also as a community manager, even more in a few other projects and doing social media coordinating, I hear the word community a lot. Like everyone says, "Hey guys, we're building a community, so we're in for the community, guys." So, Shad, I really want to understand what the fuck is a community. I mean, right now it's just become a fad. I mean, the word which everyone just throws around on Twitter, community, the word itself. But what is in it? Is it just the people who contribute, or is it people coming together, sharing stuff, or just memeing around or de-chatting? What does it even consist about? Like, what is it?
I feel like the definition has been skewed in this space, and it is used as a buzzword. It's used to sell your project
Okay.
primarily. But community is human nature. We're pack animals. It's how we work.
Yes.
It's in our genes. We need to be accepted by the community, the people around us. Otherwise, we feel shameful or ousted, and that goes back to the caveman days where
Yes.
if you're pushed out of the community, you're going to get eaten by wolves,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's kind of big and important. Today's communities in this space, which I feel like a lot of Web3 participants don't come from gaming. The DeFi crowd does generally, though, more RTS MOBA
Okay.
style. Um,
Okay.
but this community almost comes from the Instagram scene. It kind of feels like the uh,
Okay.
the degens have that get rich quick feel to it. Um, it's all about the penny stocks. To get in, get out, make your moonshot. 10x isn't even good enough. You need 100 or 1000x to be satisfied, and that's still not enough. But it's communities on the internet have been in existence since the internet came about. And my my first experiences with communities was with MMOs. It was with World of Warcraft, being in a
Okay.
guild. And
Yeah. Yeah.
it wasn't just like, oh, let's just put a group of people together. It can't just be that. There has to be there's reasoning for why you group up. And in World of Warcraft, it was because you needed to build a 5-man team for the instances, a 10 or 25-man or even 40-man and back in vanilla to run raids. And you needed to make sure you had a diverse group of people to be able to fit all the roles that were necessary. You can't be all DPS, all tanks, all heals. You gotta have the right spread of it. Or it was
Mm-hmm.
just
Mm-hmm.
to help each other out with questing before people knew what Wowhead was. Before you could just Google what the quest was, or before the game made it easy for you to just figure that shit out. And there was that type of it. The thing with the communities in this space,
Mm-hmm.
the best communities in this space are the ones that are private invite, they're not token gated, and they're not based on return of investment. It is about a group of people that act like a family in the space together, and they share knowledge and they help you learn together. And those are the communities you should, after you buy into your first community in this space, no matter how you figure it out. Because like for me, Bored Apes was the first like Discord that I got into, because I didn't know anybody in this space, and that's how I had to. It's like, give me something to start with, and then let me go from there. Once you
Mm-hmm.
get
Okay.
through, like once you start off with your first like NFT gated community, whether it doesn't have to be, you can find another one through crypto Twitter, but find some people that you look up to, that can give somewhat sage advice, and move from there to see if you can find a Discord, a private Discord, private group, Twitter, whatever your preference is, but that's of like 200 people or less. 100 people is probably where you want to be. And these are the groups you want to get into, where you have one Discord that you can always go back to and ask questions, and know that your friends in that Discord aren't going to dump their bags on you. You do not know that when you're in an NFT gated community. It is very unclear. Over time, sure, you might be able to figure that out, who's legitimate, who's not. But online friendships that started a few weeks ago, a few months ago, get thrown out the window when they have the chance to make a couple grand off you. It's
Okay.
very apparent in this space. You see that with the influencers. That's like the extreme version of it.
Yes. Yes.
But
Yes.
you gotta be careful in this space. Not like
Yes.
the Web3 community can be very genuine and incredibly helpful, and they sure were early on before it was money raining everywhere, and you could just get rich off of doing nothing but just buying anything.
Okay.
And nowadays it's quite cutthroat in the space. It is
Yes.
not
Yes.
nearly as
Yes.
friendly. Everybody's trying to, get above water and feel comfortable with their bags again. And you gotta be careful in this space. But that doesn't
Okay.
mean to say don't trust anybody. But always be wary.
Yes. Yes. And plus, add pseudonymity on that, and then we have a complete different package of
Yeah.
pump and dumps. Yes,
Hmm.
100%. So, there are two things that I want to touch base on. I think, while you were talking about this, you also mentioned about just human nature, and how we've evolved as pack animals. So, I think with behavior is, um, technology has evolved really quick, but our DNA hasn't. It's still the same. Food, sex, and survival, right? It's still actually the same. And so, do you think that plays a major role in NFTs? Because honestly, the reason I'm also asking you is my topic for NFT NYC is uh, neuroscience of digital identity, and I actually do want to touch upon how communities aren't something new, which have been in existence since the dawn of humanity, and why it's just like a way for it to be on chain and on Twitter using PFPs to represent oneself. So, do you think it's like it's that's how the evolution happens, or is it just identity that you can do using your PFPs, or there's much more to NFTs than just flipping, flexing on Twitter, which happens and which is completely okay, and it's just in us. So, what more do you think there is?
Well, um, yeah, NFTs were, and I still hate the term NFT. It's just when
Yes.
you go down, break it down,
Yeah.
non-fungible
Yeah.
token,
Yeah.
you go into that, and then we talk about fractionalized NFTs, and just like, wait, this definition doesn't work anymore.
Yes.
Uh, Digital assets, what they are today is just a very small fraction of the beginning of what digital assets are. Digital assets will be everything ever. There will be a digital twin for anything that you purchase from, anything ever that you'll purchase. There'll be a digital twin. I mean, like these assets alone, it'll just be like for logistics, uh, for being able to track that on a public ledger. It's gosh, it gets it gets so massive, but it's just
Yes.
like
Yes.
we
Yes.
needed proof in the pudding to show what the technology was, and digital art was just like a great way to open that up. And I mean, you can see the parallels. Like, today is the digital renaissance.
Okay.
The original renaissance was an art movement involving money, involving banks, the Medici family in particular. And and
Yes.
and that's what it is. You need the money, or you need the art to make the movement. You need something that's culturally relevant to get people to see it. And NFTs is what was needed for crypto to get adopted. It is the necessity. You can't just drop a coin or a token and be like, this is our new reserve currency. This is our new money. Believe it. Everybody's like, well, it's freaking fake. Like, that it's just imaginative. It doesn't matter. And most of those people don't realize that money is a myth overall. It's a story that humans make up. It,
Makeup.
it's
Yes.
it's it only has value because other humans believe it has value, and that's just how shit works. And it's the same thing with crypto. And people will be like, well, no, the US dollar is backed by the government. It's like, sure, yeah. But like, you, you, it just puts you down like such a weird mind fuck in it. And the idea of like, it starts making you question all of the things about reality, like how much is actually truly reality or just our version of it, our depiction of how we're existing in it. And jumping back before I get too far down there, jumping back to like the PFP and flexing on it, status has been a thing, is always human. It's always been a thing. I mean, I've been flexing my WoW mounts, my World of Warcraft mounts for the longest
Yes.
time.
Yes.
It's always about which ones can you collect, even if you can't sell them after you use them because they're bind on equip. You put it on, there you go, it's yours. But you get to flex it. It's a status symbol. And the thing is, the status symbols of like flexing IRL these days is your watch and your car. And when it comes to the internet, not many people give a shit about that. And you're not gonna go drive your car around the internet. That just doesn't really happen. The status symbol of digital assets is what makes sense. And I mean, like you look at the the first time millionaires and their families of the millennials and Gen
Mm-hmm.
Zs,
Mm-hmm.
and you start to realize that they don't want to go spend money on like real shit. They don't really care for that. All their
Yes.
time is spent on the internet. It's
Internet.
about
Correct.
that. I mean, like,
Correct.
even just something small there is like when the game Apex Legends came out by Epic Games, which was a free to play game. You get to buy skins in it, which makes sense for crypto. Why wouldn't it? Those should be NFTs. But one of the coolest things that got me excited as an adult was if you won the match prior to playing a new match, in that new match there were giant banners throughout the entire map that had your face on it. Your
Okay.
character's face on it with whatever skin you were wearing at the time. And it had your
Okay.
name underneath it. And it like made you feel freaking great. And it was like
Yes.
this status symbol, and you were flexing on the other 50
Yeah. Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
100 people in that lobby, and you were like, come at me, bitch. Like that was kind of, and that is like, yeah. So you'll see a lot of like that status kind of flexing in the space. Some of it gets cringy when it's like, don't talk to me unless your PFP is worth at least 100K.
Okay.
uh, and that's not the kind of flexing you want. But
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it's also like you you can share anything that's digital immediately with everyone across the internet as many times as you want because
Yes.
it's digital. You
Yep.
can't
Yep. Yep.
like just walk somebody through your home, like show them your garage without like just taking a video, and it's just
Yep.
not the same because it's not like as comparable. There's just
Okay.
something so different that you'll see like boomers and up just don't understand it because they didn't grow up with the internet, and it's not the same thing. As we have more generations that grow up with the internet, whether it's just a mobile phone or if it's with a desktop, that is where you spend your time. You will always spend your money where you spend your time. And
Okay.
that's
Okay.
why crypto and NFTs
Wow.
just will always they will be the
Makes
future.
sense.
And
Makes sense.
on
Okay.
top of that, a lot of people will argue, well, why do we even need crypto? And just not talking about NFTs here, but just crypto in general, like Bitcoin or Ethereum. They're like, why do we even need this? Like, I can just Venmo you or Cash App you some
Yeah.
money.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I already
Yeah.
have digital currencies.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
then it's one thing, like in the Western world, you don't see the problem because you're so enclosed in your own echo chamber that you don't realize that the majority of the world is unbanked, and you can't get a bank
Correct.
account, and you
Yes.
can't send
Yes.
money to other people.
Yes.
And the internet and the crypto movement is global. It is not local to just your community. It is global. And when you open that up to the world, you start to realize how important crypto is. And you look at
Okay.
some of these countries, and I can't remember which one it was I just saw recently, saying
Mm-hmm.
like, starting tomorrow we're devaluing our currency by 90%.
Okay.
And when you're seeing that kind of inflation of your currency, I mean, you look at the US dollar, and we printed, we doubled the amount of US
Yes.
dollars
In the
in
last 4 years
2020.
itself. Yes.
And this is
Yes.
the global reserve currency. This is the most stable
Correct.
currency we have, is the one that just
Correct.
2x the supply over COVID. And
Yes.
but you like compare that to other countries and their currencies, and it just like everything starts to fall apart. And this isn't just a pitch to say, hey, Bitcoin should be the thing. Like stable
Mm-hmm.
coins is what's going to be the mass adoption. As
Stable
for
coins.
what it's attached to, um, what it's pegged to, I don't know. I don't
Okay.
have a good enough degree to go down into the specifics there to be able to pitch exactly what and why.
Let's just do this. Right, chats. This is a $20 bill. Right, it's a $20 bill. And of course, it says it's backed by the US government, the Reserve, the Fed, and in God we trust, whatever it says on a piece of paper. And then we all believe in it. But now it's a very valid argument that you shared is we just do excess supply. So basically, 40 to 80% of the US dollars in existence have been printed in the last 4 years. Now, I have all my, let's say, I don't want so much of volatility in life. Let's say I just want to sleep well. So I have some funds. I'm in Web3. I'm in NFTs. Though it's a very ironic way of saying sleeping well. But I have my funds. Let's say I have some bag and I moved it to stables, but they're pegged. My USDC is pegged to that. So if that devalues, my USDC also devalues. What happens then?
Yeah, it's it's not the best system. And I'm not here to say that the US dollar is about to crash, that it's about to be completely useless. You
Mm-hmm,
can look
mm-hmm.
at history and look at the length of reserve currencies, um, which is like 150 to 250 years, which we're
Yes.
kind of pushing. But that was also like, you're looking at history like pre-industrial, pre-information age. So it's going to be skewed like crazy. I'm not saying get rid of all of your USD currency and go into crypto. That is not what I'm saying at all.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm trying to get across is that this is the fact that the majority of US dollars alone are just a number in a database, in a centralized database where somebody that we didn't vote on just presses a button to increase the count and just up how much money they have. I mean, the US is what, 30 trillion in debt. It's fucking sketch.
Yes.
The idea is we need to slowly move towards uh, a digital era, which we're in, and we're doing that right now. We're having the one time in global history where we move from analog to digital. It's going to take a while, but it's happening. And whether you like the internet or not, that's where things will go. And it's just kind of like it's more of a safe haven to be able to rely on something that isn't controlled by a few but controlled by the many is kind of the idea there.
Okay.
I don't know how I
Okay.
got started way down this rabbit hole, way down this
Yes.
rant, but I digress.
Got it. Got it. But honestly, it's just fun to have conversations like these, and also just think about when you just said, I mean, what if it's just a mental construct that we have in our mind about money. What I mean, hypothetically, what happens if every single person on the planet just thinks, okay, so let's not have money, or let's not consider this as money, which is very hypothetical, but if you think about it, it's like like the Matrix and stuff. So yeah, I think it's just mind bending to even go deeper into conversations like these. So yeah, it's great. And also, Shad, I'm just sending you the second invite in the link. So it says 1 minute only. So I'm so sorry. I'll be upgrading and my headphones as well. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I'll see you there. Yes. Hope
Okay.
you're having fun, sir. Yeah.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah. Yes. We are back. Yes.
All
Okay.
right.
Yeah. So,
So one thing to go on with that last segment that you're talking about with
Mhm.
talking about, if everybody just stopped believing in money. And when you go back to the bargaining days, which we don't even know if those like truly existed, which I mean, like, yeah, bargaining did exist, but like
Mhm.
only bargaining, um, you start getting into this mathematical problem of, I want some apples and I have a goat,
Yeah.
and then you do
Double
the
coincidence of once.
yeah, you do the conversion there, and you
Correct.
find out
Correct.
how many apples is worth a goat, and then you're like, all right, I need a pair of shoes. How many apples is a shoe worth? And you're
Okay.
like, all right, I want a fish. How many shoes is a fish worth? And
Mm-hmm.
you go through just like a few items, and this is where like exponential math just like gets way out of hand immediately. And for a human to retain 10 to the I don't know what power of conversion rates, you start to
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
realize maybe we should have something that is the intermediary, one
Correct.
thing that should be the constant that we can compare against as the conversion rate, rather
Yes.
than all these final items. And so that kind of goes towards the like, well, we should just go back to bartering. And it's like, no, we kind of need the thing that buys stuff. It's you do the thing
Yes.
that you're good at so you can make money to buy the things that you're not good at or that you don't want to do. That's kind of where that goes. Sorry to cut you off
Okay.
there.
No, no, I think it's a very valid point that you shared and very important as well because you just can't expect because what's the measure, right? You really don't know the measure. So of course, I think there is something which is a unit of scale that a common unit of scale even which we would need 100%. And if we digress a little bit and just think about the NFT space in general, do you think it's a zero sum game or
No.
what's okay? Why is it
Uh,
not?
um, well, mostly yes. I would also say mostly it's a Ponzi and a scam, which is what the media likes to pick up on because
Correct, correct.
clickbait and engagement is based on negative things. It works better that way. It's just human psychology. Um, but no, it's not zero sum because it's adding value. Uh, and if you can add value outside of monetary value, that's not a zero sum game anymore. If you're adding an ability to do something new, and whether that's even just adding liquidity to a market that's illiquid. Let's take real estate for an example.
Mm-hmm.
Real estate markets can be a bitch. It can be really, really tough to sell something on a whim. Like, yeah, you could take like the highest moving asset right now in NFTs. Like, even just look at the sewer passes right now. You could
Yes.
list something at floor and it would sell within a few minutes. You'd be like, all right,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
got my money. You try to sell a house in a few minutes, that shit isn't gonna work. But if we put the titles on chain, which is inevitable and will happen eventually, but we need regulations first. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but if you do that, you're not just selling to the people locally, you're selling globally now. People can
Correct.
invest in a home in a country they've never been to. And you start to open up markets to the whole world. Everybody gets to be an investor. Everybody can get involved without being accredited, without having a bank account. Yeah, you can't get loans that way. I mean, maybe you can. They're going to be risky
Yeah,
and
yeah.
probably predatory, but it still opens up the capabilities, and you can even start looking into DAOs. If which DAOs are they're pretty shit right now. You have the same issues with business and committees and all that shit, but maybe we'll get somewhere with it. But the idea of saying putting money into a DAO, into a treasury, and having people vote on what research projects they want to push it to in science and biotech and bioengineering. This is not zero sum. This is crowdfunding on steroids. Is what it could be
Okay.
looked at. I mean, these are just some basic examples, but this technology opens things up worldwide. It makes it so there's a market for anything and everything, and anybody can get involved.
Okay, got it. Wow, it's like crowdfunding on steroids. And yes, if we just bring your previous pointer that you shared is, and we spend our money where we spend our time the most, and this is where we spend the time the most. So I think it kind of makes sense. So why didn't you apply for the ApeCoin Council?
um, look, I'm bullish on Yuga.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a fan of the community.
What? But
The
that's
community. I went to Ape Fest,
okay. Okay.
and I got popped collar Ed Hardy wrist flexing vibes,
Okay.
and I don't like that shit. There's a reason why most of my PFPs are dressed down. Um, it's not about that kind of flex. It's the subtle flex, but it's not in your face. You know, look at what I got. I mean, if
Okay.
you look at my gallery, it's
Mm-hmm.
not just a list of the most expensive JPEGs. I have art in there that's worth a couple $100,000, and I have art in there that's worth $20 side by side. It doesn't matter. It's a different vibe. And like, don't get me wrong, like the Bored Ape community was something special to begin with, because when I first bought it, and the floor was zero point 0.9 ETH. I bought a
Correct. Correct.
robot. I bought a robot ape at 1.4 because I didn't like any on the floor because I thought they all didn't look that great. Wasn't a fan of the art,
Mm-hmm.
which is why I
Mm-hmm.
faded it for so long. But I got to meet some cool people, and they helped educate me and got me learnt on the space a little bit more, and figure out what was going on. But
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
when it got so expensive, you could feel the shift, and it,
Okay.
it shifted into a group of people that I wouldn't want to just like have beers with.
You wouldn't want to have beers with?
No, I would not.
Okay.
Whereas the community, like the proof community, those guys are the reason I've gone to all the NFT events that I've gone to, is
Okay.
because of that group of people. And
Okay.
and it's just a different vibe.
Okay.
I'm not saying like the Bored Ape community is a bad
Correct.
community.
Correct. Correct.
It's just not the community for me.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Got it. Got it. Got it. I think that's a very interesting pointer, right? Because um, so let's say as a human being, I have certain traits, and let's say I'm really into flexing. I'm really into flexing. I want the attention. I want to be the spotlight, and maybe I could be a guy who would definitely want to have beers with guys like those. So maybe it makes sense for them,
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
So yep, yep. And I think that's a perfect example of how we are actually evolving in the NFT space as well, and how we're thinking, how it's becoming more tangible, right? We are choosing to hang out with certain set of people because of what we like and our tastes, etc. I think, yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Yes. And also one more pointer. If I actually tell my mom this, that hey, I'm doing a podcast with Chat, and guess what? The best part about Chat's NFTs are he dresses them down. It's it's so hard to explain, but can you also uh you know maybe highlight on why that subtle pointer you shared, but I just don't want just to let it go missing, because it's a very important point that you shared, right? We're choosing how our NFT should look like, or how it should be perceived by people. So yes, sir. So that's my question. If I'm able to make sense there, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, to point it out, like I have 15 moonbirds, and I got another robot with a squiggle over its head with a punk jacket, and if I was trying to flex, that would probably be where I would go to. Now, if I got like a cosmic or enlightened, I would probably use that because I really love that idea. But
Okay.
more of the dressing down is more of picking a profile picture, an avatar that represents me. Now, when you look at like some of the apes, like I have a couple apes.
Mhm.
The one I used to use is a robot ape, and I do always do my best to pick a robot character because I like to think logically, analytically. So that's that representation. But my first ape was robot ape with an orange beanie with a sleeveless t-shirt.
Okay.
It was casual. I also
Okay.
own a Deathbot ape that has a captain's hat and a tweed suit.
Mm-hmm.
I will never use that as a PFP. That's too classy for me.
Okay.
That's not what I'm trying to attract. It's virtue signaling.
Virtue signaling, yes.
I'm trying to show off like the what type of people I represent with. And for my Moonbird that I'm currently using, the robot goes to
Mm-hmm.
that theme with the flat bill hat. I mean, I I love my action sports. I love my snowboarding, my mountain biking, and in that culture, pretty much everybody wears a flat billed hat. And so that's the representation there is that represents me. That is who I am in reality in meat space. I don't
Okay.
it's not about flexing all the other stuff. And it's it's about like the subtleties. And I mean, even for a while, I was repping my ape politician from Cyberbrokers, and the thing is, like, that was like a subtle flex, but only to people who knew Cyberbrokers. They didn't realize
Okay.
that
Yeah.
that asset was worth 125 ETH when the floor was one ETH. They didn't realize that that was different discrepancy there. And if it was different, if everybody knew the value of that, I might have not have used it. Um, but it's kind of it's part of the way that I represent myself in real life too.
Okay.
I prefer stealth wealth. Um,
Stealth wealth. Okay.
yeah. So if you see me in public, you have no idea that I have money. There is nothing on me that shows that I'm wealthy. Um, I mean, I drive a Toyota. Like it doesn't. I don't need to look wealthy to other people. All it's about to me is being able to connect with people brain to brain. That's what it comes down to. It's all about the mind, and that's why like when I grew up on the internet, I've always remained on the internet because that's where I get to be who my mind is, not who I am as a person.
Correct. 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 Yeah, I think, like Naval says, choose to be rich and anonymous instead of poor and famous, right?
I like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think that makes a lot of sense. And I don't know, maybe you're getting me a lot more bullish on NFTs, by raising these arguments, which are like super important arguments that we are actually talking about. Wow. Yeah, so I just don't want to take a lot of your time, but I do have last two questions. And so I think, the first one would be AI, of course. It has to be AI. So how do you think, AI is evolving, and how do you think there's an intersection of Web3, AI, and trust me, yesterday, all my podcasts, I'm not editing my podcast for Reels. There's an app. I take my podcast, I throw it on that app. It spits out 15 Reels, which I just do some minor editing and just type in my Twitter handle. I can push it on all socials in minutes, which is crazy. I don't even have to hire an editor now. So, what are your thoughts?
Uh, Machine learning, AI, and AGI are the future. Don't fade that shit. Um, it is a tool, and it is a tool beyond anything humans have ever seen. And you look at the last 100 years, last 150 years, we went from like the invention of the washing machine and the microwave to AI. Like that's not a leap that is standard for any one generation to live through. Like that just doesn't happen.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
the thing is, with most of it right now, which is just machine learning. People like to say AI because they don't know what's going on behind the scenes. Plus, it's catchier. Uh, Chat GPT is really the thing that blew up. That shit is something brand new. And the thing is, back in the days of AOL Instant Messenger, AIM, there were chatbots. and they were pretty sloppy, but they felt pretty good. And that was incredible. It was like, wow, this computer's talking back to me. It can respond to my random questions. Never had the right answer, which ChatGPT sometimes doesn't. I'd kind of like, say ChatGPT is like these days, right now, is like most men, where instead of saying I don't know, it gives you a bullshit answer instead. And that's kind of
Yes.
the stage of AI that we're at right now.
Okay.
What I mentioned, AGI, artificial general intelligence,
Mm-hmm.
when we get to that point, this world flips upside down.
Okay.
And that meaning artificial intelligence that can do everything that a human can, but it also does all the other things better.
Okay.
And what's crazy with that is all you have to do is right click, copy, paste, and you have another one. And that's it. It's just there's a turning point, and a lot of people use this as a doomsday mentality, being like, oh, all the jobs are going away because of AI. Well, you could have said the same thing with so many points in the past,
Yes. Yes.
with automobiles, with computers in general.
Printing. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, it's yeah, who's gonna like what are the monks gonna do? They can't just like keep on rewriting these books where you just print it again. What's gonna be our point? The thing is, all new technology brings new jobs. I mean, look at Web3. There's there's moderator positions, there's
Yes.
curator positions, there's community collabs, there's you have meme lords. Like,
Correct. Correct.
I mean, you have director of vibes now. Like, what the fuck is that? But like, it's a position, and there will always be a step up. And the thing is, like, a lot of people, I think, what they're when they're scared of losing their job, they're
Mm-hmm.
scared of losing income. But if we do AI right, and this is a big if on
Mm-hmm.
humanity,
Mm-hmm.
if we do it right, if we actually make it a public good, then
Okay.
all it does is increase the quality of life of every human.
Wow.
And my thoughts on DAOs, kind of mentioned earlier, they're pretty
Mm-hmm.
shitty right now,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
one of the best use cases for DAOs would be AI.
Yes.
And we're already seeing that we have a live example in the art space with Botto,
Okay.
BOTTO. So
Okay.
it is a
Okay.
DAO with an
Mm-hmm.
AI that I think is using Stable Diffusion. I'm not sure
Mm-hmm.
which AI art bot it is.
Mm-hmm.
But the token holders of Botto that are in the DAO get to use those tokens to vote on which pieces the AI spits out to say this is art or this isn't art. It's literally hot or not for art. That's
Okay.
that's what that's what the DAO does. And they vote on it, and once it gets voted on, once it gets put through, that piece of quote unquote art gets minted and it gets sold on super rare. And that
Okay.
money goes back into the treasury.
Treasury.
And
Yes.
it is a very interesting model. And I could
Mm-hmm.
see, I mean, crypto already makes everybody be able to be an investor. And if AIs become DAOs, you buy in or you get given shares depending on how things go. Um, and that becomes your income. And you start voting on what the AI does. And it just
Yes.
increases your quality of life. I mean,
Yes.
like that's kind of the future of humanity with technological growth is we get to a point where you don't have to work and you shouldn't have to work and you just get to chase whatever creative freedom you want to chase. Whether
Okay.
it's binging Netflix or whether it's making art or creating something or being a prompt engineer. There's plenty of options in the future, but as long as we as humanity can make sure that these keep to public domains and don't get allocated directly to a few giant monopoly tech giants, we should be fine.
Yes.
um,
Yes. Yes.
but it's really hard to predict how far down the
Yeah.
road AGI will be. And look, I do feel for the artists that went through years of school to be taught how to make art, how to make it beautiful, how to do compositions and everything. And then the bot shows up and somebody types something in and it sort of
Yeah.
uses their copyright or doesn't. It's hard to tell. because it's machine learning and it's behind a black box.
Correct.
And
Correct.
I understand, be like, well, I spent all this time and now this machine does it. And you could look at it's the same, it's on a larger scale. Don't get me wrong. It's bigger than before, but the same argument happened when cameras came out. And the argument was photography is not art. Try telling
Okay.
that to people today.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, you're stupid. Of course it's art, depending on how you take the photo. If you're just
Yeah.
snapping it with your phone, and it's whatever. But then you look at the invention of like Photoshop and Illustrator, and you're like, oh, digital art isn't art. That no, it's just not art because you're using a mouse. It's a no. It's like no, it's just another tool. And so you get into that argument again. And
Okay.
humans are really good at forgetting things that counter their point of view.
Okay.
And we're going through the same shit right now with AI. And the thing is, you look at like Illustrator and you could draw a perfect circle, a legitimate perfect circle. You couldn't do that with your hand. And we're going to see the same kind of thing with AI, whereas AI does a lot of that original stuff a lot
Mm-hmm.
easier than we do now, than we've done in the past. But it becomes a tool, and it becomes a tool to enhance, to be able to make something greater and better. And just like you were saying, I guess opening on this AI topic was how easy it is for you to edit videos. I remember like I wanted to be a videographer. I wanted to edit videos, do digital media. And when I was first doing that, I had like a JVC camera that I had this weird fucking port to plug into my computer. I could get the videos on there, but I couldn't get an editing program to work. And so it
Okay.
just never happened. And it
Mm-hmm.
was too complicated. And then by the time like I kind of gave up on that idea, the smartphones were in everybody's hands and the cameras were good enough. You could just record on there, and there was like editing software built in on the phones. And now everybody could be a content creator. And it's like
Correct.
you don't be like, oh, well, digital media people are out of jobs now because this tool came out that made it so easy that everybody
Yeah.
could do
Yeah.
it. And it's the same argument that we're going through now. Everybody can make art now, and it's like, why is that an issue? That should be a huge leap forward. The more hurdles we have, the less we can create. And stable
Correct.
diffusion, like that is just, it's pushing us so much further. And you see some of the greatest AI artists out there, and you'll start being able to recognize it yourself, are the ones that do hundreds of iterations on the same image to wordsmith it to be perfect, to almost look like there's not a single AI looking smear on it, and it looks 100% legit. People will say that's not art. But how much time and passion did you put into that piece? Like tens, maybe hundreds of hours
Yes.
into iterating. That's freaking art to me. Are you going to say poetry isn't art? I'm going to end my rant right there.
Yeah. 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 Well, I think it definitely opens up a lot of conversations, and I think it's also important to have. So you think podcasting is not, because I think it is, but
Why wouldn't it be? I mean, art is all subjective. As soon as it gets
correct.
objective, it's not art.
Okay. Okay.
But the
Got it.
definition is incredibly malleable, and it's whoever's pitching it and whoever sounds most confident has the right answer,
Yes.
because
Yes.
humans.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, okay. One more thing back to AI art, and I know
Mm-hmm.
this is
Mm-hmm.
like a big discussion, and it needs to be dealt
Mm-hmm.
with, and
Mm-hmm.
the fact that AI art is the software, the machine learning is built upon a version of copyright, which is, today's version of like you have to change the art a certain percentage to say it's new art and you can use it without copyright infringement. And AI does that like crazy to the point where you have almost no idea where each piece originally came from. There does need to be new laws on that. And
Okay.
I think that is a push for blockchain tech,
Okay.
because if you get to mint all of your art to prove that it's yours, that it's online, if you want to put it on the internet, then you can write into the smart contract, into a legal digital contract, to write what the rights are for that piece. If it gets
Correct.
used in AI, what percentage of it gets used, you get your royalties. I mean, that was a big pitch of bringing artists on board into the space
Wow.
in the first place, was talking about the royalty system and being able to have artists live off of their works as opposed to the wealthy make all the money and the artists get nothing afterwards and they have to remain
Correct.
starving.
Correct. 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 I think there definitely are a lot of use cases, and like the old saying goes, right? We're just at the tip of the iceberg, and I think it applies here as well. But there's one interesting point that you shared, and um, so you were basically talking about if the whole AI things goes well, um, humanity will be at a point where we wouldn't have to work anymore. That's basically universal basic income. And I have a question. So basically, you have the wealth, right? You have the wealth. You have the stability. Though you drive a Toyota, nothing wrong with Toyota, but yeah, you deserve an Urasa. But yes, you. But what do you think about privilege? Because you are at a point of privilege. What keeps you going? Why does Shat have to work anymore? Why would you want to work anymore? What keeps
I
you
don't work
going?
any I don't work anymore. I I do Web3 6 to 12 hours a day instead because
Okay.
it's where I live. It's for me. It's without the stress of worrying about shit. If all
Okay.
crypto went to zero, if all my bags got deleted, if I got hacked,
Hmm.
I wouldn't have to sell my house. And that keeps me at a point where I'm comfortable doing what I want to do. And at this point, I'm kind of at at a weird crossroads. And I will say when I retired, it wasn't meant to be a retirement. It was meant to be a sabbatical to deal with my depression, to stop taking Adderall, to figure out my life.
Okay.
And I did 3 years of no work, playing video games, and learning how to level up. When
Okay.
when I when I recognized that I have spent over 200 days of played time on my warlock alone, and how much care and time and effort I put into min-maxing that character, meaning getting him the best gear possible, maxing out all the professions so I could do everything that I could possibly do in that game for that one character. I I started questioning myself, why don't I do this for me? And so my life mentality switched to from existing to thriving, to
Okay.
growing, to realizing that the one thing that will always be with me through my existence is my mind. And I just want to feed it more and more knowledge. And
Wow.
the more that I learn, the more that I realize I know nothing, but I'm learning so much more than I ever could have and ever would have in school. And I have become a lifelong learner. That won't change now. That is my new source of dopamine. And it is mind-blowing. It is incredibly eye-opening to go from an idea of being a child thinking everybody over the age of 18 knows everything,
Yes.
and then to get into your late 20s, early 30s and realize nobody knows shit. And and everybody everybody right now with an internet connection has the ability to learn anything, and yet they choose not to. And I just want to, you know, in some weird way, kind of be a shepherd for those who feel lost in life as well, and be able to show that you can step away from your job and do something that fulfills you. You can learn more. You can learn an unlimited amount of things. Our brains are just, we have all the same hardware. It's just what software you install. And
Okay.
most people stop installing, they stop updating after they graduate, whether it's high school or college or just a GED, and they
Okay.
just quit. And that's it. And the only thing you learn from there is whatever your career is and whatever you do at home, whether or not you're with family. And and there's this stagnation that just is so depressing to me.
Yeah.
And that is part of what pushes me is the fact that there's so many people on this planet that their only focus is the grind to make enough to live by, or to just continue to make more, but with no goals, with no end goal, really, because that's what we like to do as humans is, you have the idea, I want to make 1 million. You make a
Mm-hmm.
million. I want to make 5 million. You make five. I want to make 10 now. You don't have a cap. You just keep on shifting the goal until you realize that there really is no goal. And you just feel like you have to push that. And I just want to discover this world, and not in the sense that, most people on Instagram or TikTok or whatever dating app that you're on saying, I just want to travel the world. That's it. We have such a vast galaxy, such a vast universe, such so many things that are undiscovered, so many things to see, and it's it's there there's a certain point where there is just an unlimited amount of things to be able to do as a human, to do, to see, to discover, to create, to foster. And you end up down,
Yeah.
all it takes is one rabbit hole down biohacking to
Yeah.
realize
Yeah.
that aging isn't inevitable,
Yeah.
to make you wonder what can this future hold,
Wow.
especially at the rate of innovation right now.
Yes.
That shit keeps me going.
Yes, sir. Poof. Drum roll. It was nice. I will definitely have to look back and just go back to the entire podcast and absorb all the pointers there. There's so much info here as well, and it's just great. And honestly, thank you so much for just hopping onto the podcast and doing this. And yes, if you're coming to NFT NYC and if you recognize my handsome face, please do, stop me there. Love to, buy you a beer, sir. It'd be fun. Yep. Hope I'm the person you'd love to share a beer with.
Yeah, yes, of course. And I greatly appreciate the opportunity to come on. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you so much, Chad. It was amazing conversation, and I'd say one of the deepest conversation, and opens up a rabbit hole of, various things that the audience can look into. But yeah, it was amazing. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much again, Chad, and peace.
Cheers.